cold therapy is one of the biggest ways and easiest ways, in my opinion, to kind of shock the body and put yourself into that really like, holy crap, like what's happening to me mindset. All right, hello and welcome, my friends, to another episode of The Morning Takeaway. If you'll notice over here to my left, I have a new little whiteboard that I plan to put quotes on there, whatever I'm kind of feeling. There's a little spot for, bulletin board. Great tool, by the way, for your house if you need like to-do lists and checking things off. And I was going to put a quote up there today that kind of pertained to the podcast, but instead I just put one of my favorite quotes, and it reads like this: "You don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to get started to be great." And that has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today with my takeaway, but if that's the only thing you take away from the takeaway, then take it with what you will and send it to somebody. Share this podcast. Like I said, that's the single-handed best way that you can help me out, is by sharing this podcast with friends, family, whoever you might think would be able to take something away and apply it to their lives. So today I want to talk about the fight or flight response, cold therapy, and you might notice I'm wearing a big burly sweatshirt because I just got done out of the ocean. It was about 61 degrees, which is pretty cold. The coldest I think I've done is like 48, 49 degrees. That's besides the point. And I'll get into some of the cold benefits from cold therapy in probably a different podcast, like with fitness tips. But I kind of want to talk about the psychological side of it in today's episode. So for me, when I'm doing these things, like when I'm going out and jumping in the ocean every day, or if you don't have an ocean, which not many people do, and I realize that, what can you do? You can get in the shower. And the way I actually started when I didn't live next to an ocean was turn my water on a little colder than normal, kind of ease into it, kind of like working out. And I literally took it in sets and reps. So I would start my Apple Watch timer and I would go 20 seconds of super cold, breathing through it. You're going to get into that fight or flight response. And then go back to hot and cycle that on a couple times. And eventually you start to be able to prolong those times and get better at it, which is a total correlation to fitness and growth in general, and repetition, right? So, but that's another podcast, another rabbit hole I'm going down. But I think with cold therapy and jumping into the fight or flight response, let's backtrack a little. What is the fight or flight response? Well, in psychology, which, by the way, I studied psychology in college as well, it's basically it's a psychological term for if you're going to address the situation or run to safety. For me, jumping into oceans and doing cold water therapy and whatever it may be, it's really just preparing myself for uncomfortable situations. I think from a young age, I was exposed to that idea of getting uncomfortable because that's how we grow. And cold therapy is one of the biggest ways and easiest ways, in my opinion, to kind of shock the body and put yourself into that really like, holy crap, like what's happening to me mindset. And you have the option to fight and stay and breathe and be present in that feeling, or turn the water on really hot and essentially run to safety, right? So why, let's jump into a little bit of the cold therapy. Shout out to SST, by the way, 300 milligrams of caffeine, no calories, no sugar, delicious. Use my code NICK30 if you want 30% off. I drink these things every day. Anyways, jumping into some of the cold benefits, and like I said, I'll get into this on another podcast in it of itself, but cold therapy and cold water can actually increase your testosterone, increase your mood, it can increase your circulation, which in turn reduces inflammation in your body. So it's great for recovery. Kind of like the same idea with heat and stem if you were an athlete, or you go to the chiropractor or whatever. And then there's also immune responses and getting used to, a lot of people will think, oh, like they always tell me, like, Nick, you're going to get sick. You're out there in the cold water and you're walking back and air drying, which, by the way, if you do that, you should probably air dry with the sun, because from what I've read, and because I haven't studied cold therapy like intensively, but air drying is actually the best way to go for the most natural benefits. So anyways, basically, with these benefits, it's, if you go to the testosterone and increasing your mood and increasing your immune system and decreasing inflammation, which is another podcast too, because if you haven't read into inflammation, that's a huge topic of concern, especially in the gut. But aside from that, if you think about these things and the benefits, it's essentially setting yourself up for long-term and longevity in your life, right? These are all things that can help you prolong your life and great habits to implement. And I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm not telling you that you should do this, should do that. I'm just suggesting that these things are awesome. And, for me, I've found it to really work. Actually, as a matter of fact, today, I kind of got off to a late start and I was feeling super sluggish, which is normal in life. If you feel normal, well, I hope you feel normal. If you feel sluggish, like, be in tune with that. That's going to happen. But I was like, I haven't been in the ocean yet. I haven't been in cold. So I got in the ocean and I felt a million times better, not only because that helps shock your body and wake you up and increase your sense of alertness, but you get into this mental state of, like, your brain starts to stimulate. So if you want to get more into the psychological side of it and getting uncomfortable, well, how do these little habits, this little habit specifically, really translate into your daily life? Well, you might say, Nick, you're stupid, because how is getting into cold water going to translate into a work meeting with my boss? Well, when your boss says something that's really direct or at you that may really piss you off, like whatever the case may be, and you're set up for this, or gives you a task that feels super crazy hard, well, you have a couple options too, as a matter of fact. You can run, you can quit, or you can address it and do it to the best of your ability. And that's where the correlation to me comes into play. Being able to really practice being uncomfortable, and when your boss does say something to make you really mad, you're uncomfortable and you're able to take a step, breathe, sit back, assess, and move on from there. And I hope this is making sense for you. I feel like I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but essentially, like, that's my takeaway. Putting yourself in uncomfortable situations on a regular basis and by choice. You are, half the time when you find yourself in uncomfortable situations, you're not ready for it. And I think the more that we can practice and really be in tune with that feeling and addressing the fight or flight response and seeing how long you can stay in the cold shower, you're growing, you're testing yourself in a sense every time you do it. So that's ultimately, to me, going to translate, into daily life. And I think these little practices, and I've touched on a few in other podcasts, as if I've done like 105 podcasts. But these little practices, if you can take one little thing and like try it once, and if you're like, holy crap, that sucked, well, it's going to suck during the moment. That's what's supposed to happen. You're not supposed to like being in cold water. Well, unless you're a weirdo like me, like I genuinely enjoy it now, but the first few times that I did it, I really hated it. But after you dry off, after you're ready for your day, you feel this crazy sense of like freshness and like, yeah, you feel fresh out of a shower anyways. But be in tune with how you feel. Is my skin is actually, and this is different, but like if you think about it, when you put ice on your skin, what happens to your skin? It shrivels up, right? Well, you're tightening your skin. So that's actually another benefit of cold therapy is glowing skin and healthier skin. But be in tune with how that makes you feel. And if it makes you feel good, why not keep implementing these practices? And again, I'm not telling you how to live your life, but I do think there's not only physical benefits to cold, but also mental benefits. And to me, the mental side is huge. And, I want to dive into another podcast later on down the line. I actually had a follower today direct message me and ask to hear about like my upbringing and a little more about me, because I never really have never really dove into my life, and this is a perfect place to do it on the podcast. So, and by the way, if you DM me on Instagram and I get a lot of crazy messages, but as long as it's not crazy absurd, like I'm probably going to respond to you. I take about an hour or 2 hours a day to look through my messages, and I do appreciate those of you that interact with me. I reply to all my comments pretty much if you have seen that on Instagram. So to kind of wrap this up, if there's something that you take away from it, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, if you hate my guts and you think that I am telling you how to live your life, I'm sorry. But I just want to be able to give you guys something to maybe try something new. If you're feeling like you're in a rut, like this, jumping in a cold shower, it'll wake you up. And you might, who knows, you might have some kind of mental revelation or takeaway. All right, so I got cut off right there. Total rookie mistake right there. But I think I was saying, God, I love that word, the word takeaway. But it's also just wrapping this thing up. I wanted to say thank you. I've been getting a lot of people telling me that they've been enjoying the podcast so far, and I appreciate that. And with that being said, your feedback is welcome. Comments, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you can't tell, I always get super uncomfortable saying that. I need to get better at that. But anyways, I do appreciate you. So that being said, go take a cold shower, have an awesome day, and don't forget to smile.